reference. Okay, everybody's.
Are you gonna try to open?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
I might have to sign out real quick, so I don't want to be rude and interrupt you. So if you see me leave, that's the reason why.
All right, got it. All right, so it's October 5th, and we're gonna go ahead and get going. This is my lab report. We've got Hudson over here on this end. Mike is there. Sammy and Earle. Earle disappeared. There he is. Okay. So this was a week of kind of a lot of little things. I had like 4 article reviews I needed to do, so I finished those up last night. So a little less progress this week than I had wanted to. One of the things I did get done was to get Ubuntu 16.04 installed on Windows 10. That worked out super well. So I've got both Ubuntu 16 and 18 running concurrently on Windows through the, whatever they call it, the Linux subsystem, which has been cool. I got a little ways into the ROS install. The robot operating system didn't install on 18.04, but it did install nicely on 16.04. I kind of had to go back and remind myself of the different distributions of this. And Hudson, this is part of the motivation for why what we're going to use for the Intel RealSense. So that interfaces nicely with ROS. It seems like it's built from the ground up to do that. So this kind of re-energized my ROS up and running. So different versions of ROS are targeted at versions of Linux. So if you're running Ubuntu 18, then you want melodic Morenia. If you're running Ubuntu 16, then it's kinetic. That one seems to be more stable and well supported. As I'm kind of understanding how well ROS is working, it's not always really, the cutting edge stuff is always pretty temperamental. So a little bit like the Python 2 and Python 3 universe a couple of weeks ago. I think 16 is stable for now. What's going on the mic spec there? I'm going to set it up on a separate computer. Let's hold off on that until after the meeting, Earle. Let's hold off on that. Can you guys shut down one of your sessions?
Better.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot. TA duties call, guys. I'm going to have to rain check, and I'll touch back in. This looks really interesting.
Okay. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it's all good. Good to see you guys all again, really, and I look forward to continuing this.
You want to hold off on your report until next week, or do you want to just record one and I can aggregate it in?
I'll check in on the Slack channel when I'm done with the class. If we're still going, I'll log back in. If we're not, I'll do next week.
Okay. Good. All right, we're just going to push ahead.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, if I see you guys later today, cool. If not, I'll see you next week.
Sammy and Earle, can you shut down one of your sessions? A lot of echo. I've got 2 sessions open for you guys. Which one are you shutting down? Earle, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Is that feedback?
Yeah, you're good. Earle, Sammy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I switched us over to Neil 1.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on ahead. So the thing to use is kinetic Kame for now. If somebody, maybe Hudson, you're kind of interested in GeoVis stuff, this may be up your alley if you're interested in taking it on. So I think that this is probably the way to go. The installation went pretty smoothly on the Linux subsystem. One thing to keep in mind is the Linux subsystem interface, as far as I know. So that means everything has to be done from the command line, which isn't necessarily a problem, but some of the installation instructions presuppose that you're kind of able to interact with some of the things. So for instance, you needed to make sure that all of your repositories were enabled for main universe, restricted, and multiverse. That's an easy thing to do in a GUI. It was a little bit harder to dig that out because the first 5 threads I saw were just like, open up this window in the GUI. So anyway, something to keep in mind as we move forward with ROS in the Linux subsystem. I'm hoping to get a version of Linux running. I've got a hard drive that just arrived. In fact, there's a whole pile of toys here to play with. One of which is a hard drive that I want to put on the lab computer here. We did actually rearrange the space. You guys probably can't quite tell, but the whole room's been, not the whole room, but things have been kind of reconfigured. So now the big computer that I've got is ready to go for student use or whatever. It's not behind my desk. So I want to get Linux on that machine. Hudson, have you done an install on Linux before?
I've like looked into it. I haven't done it though.
Okay. If you're interested in kind of growing your capabilities, it's
Hey, Dr. Pringle, we're kind of losing your audio again.
okay. I'll move the mic a little bit closer.
A little bit better.
Okay.
It seems to really be focused on which way you're facing. When you're facing away from it, your voice gets really low.
There's like configurations that I can use on this thing. Is that any better?
A little bit.
How about that one?
You're clearer now, but still really kind of quiet. I don't know. Mike was coming through really well for us, though.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll figure that out for next time.
We'll push on through.
Yeah. I mean, it could be you guys as speakers, maybe. I don't know. We'll worry about that another time. Okay. So last time or the time before, I talked a little bit about the SpaceNet challenge. So this is kind of a group that's attached to Digital Globe and some algorithmic processing of remote sensing to try to detect building footprints and roads. There's a new competition happening in October, and so I probably should try to see if there's been anything posted on that yet. But one of the things that they talked about at that meeting was the generation of 3D meshes from space imagery. And so they were using digital globe imagery to make 3D reconstructions. There's some demos here that I think are probably worth showing. It doesn't work. These are super short, but just to kind of give you an idea of the quality. Oh, shoot. I hate the way the shares work. Are you guys still just looking at the...
What was that?
Are you guys only looking at the PowerPoint, or can you see...
No, we're seeing the whole, we're seeing the, yeah. We're not in slideshow right now. We're seeing the whole thing.
Okay, good. All right. So this is the Vricon webpage. They've got a couple of really short demos here. So I just wanted to show one really briefly. Now, what you're seeing here isn't that much different than like Google Earth, but the quality is quite a bit better, I think. Can you guys see these frames coming across?
No, we just see the slideshow. I mean, the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I don't like this system. Let's try this. All right, how about now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so basically, it's using this high-res satellite imagery to create these 3D models, and they look really good, right? Like this looks like stuff that a drone could do. So I think this is pretty exciting. Now, this company certainly sells this stuff, and they seem to be a close partner with DeKalb. So it's not something that you can just access. But Riley was here last week, and I sent him this link. He's interested in doing some 3D imaging of kind of these remote areas, and while we can do that with a drone, if this stuff works as well as it seems like it works, it may be more worthwhile to try to write a grant or something to see if we can access this imagery. So just an interesting idea. Maybe do a comparison between the drone stuff and this stuff. All right, I'm clicking back into the PowerPoint. Can you guys still see that?
Okay.
Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we can see
Yep.
your slide.
Oh, well, now we're back.
Yeah, I just let it go for a second here. Let me. I guess screen is probably the best, but all right. We're back in PowerPoint. Okay. So so I think the cool thing is and I've seen this done. There have been a couple of papers that have done this, but it'd be kind of fun to port out some images from like a YouTube drone flight and try to run Pix4D on a YouTube drone video, something that we didn't capture. But what kind of reconstruction could we do from video that we didn't get ourselves? What kind of imagery or what would happen if we took planet.com imagery and dumped that into a Pix4D session? I don't know. My guess is that the planet.com stuff isn't going to work. I think that the drone stuff from YouTube should work. It won't be metrically accurate, but it should be reasonable. So I think that would be an interesting project to do, just to see what happens. So if anybody's interested in doing that, let me know. All right. So the Trees of DeKalb webpage kind of went live about a week and a half ago. I'm getting some sporadic interest in that, emails and whatnot. I wanted to, so somebody had sent me something about a honey locust that was in or near the, you guys ever go to Flippin' Eggs? It's actually been renamed. I think it's a waffle something now. But anyway, there's this giant honey locust in the background. And apparently it's one of the tallest trees around, which you can sort of see from the profile there. He had said that he measured it when he was in Boy Scouts like 30 some years ago and measured it at 100 something feet. When I measured it on the LiDAR point cloud, it's only about 75. But this was kind of a good prompt for me to, I think one of the things that we ought to do is try to programmatically associate that NAPE imagery from 2009 back with the all of the individual tiles. It would take kind of a long time to do for the whole county. So this is a really big overview, but you can kind of make out the grid network there, Hudson, of all of the different LiDAR tiles in DeKalb County back in Illinois. So I don't know, do you know how many there are, Earle? A couple of hundred?
Oh my goodness.
Not more than 500.
Somewhere around there.
15 by 20 or something. Yeah, let's say 350 or somewhere in that neighborhood. Anyway, it's a lot of tiles, but it would be pretty easy to write something that would would essentially call on the LAS tools to do the color attachment. So the idea is you can take a NAPE image and you can interpolate the color pattern from an aerial photograph and then associate that with the point cloud. And it makes for, we've done this, it ends up looking pretty good for just kind of rural study area. It looks really good. And I think it would make, the job of picking through that data set a lot easier. So that's on my sort of low on my to-do list, but something I'd kind of like to do. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was using wget. So one of the applications for the Linux subsystem, or just Linux in general, is that you've got a lot of access to tools that are in Linux but not in Windows. So with the Linux subsystem, you're running a version of Windows or you're running a version of Linux inside Windows, and it's not a virtual machine. It's something a little bit more native. Anyway, one of the tools that comes on Linux standard is wget. So wget stands for wget, and it's a way to just quickly scrape anything off of a website. So the commands are pretty simple. You basically just type in wget from the command line. You tell it what kind of files you want. You give it the URL, and it basically scrapes everything off of it. And so the application of this is something like, so I needed to grab all of the LiDAR tiles for Blacksburg, and you do that via a web page. I won't click on this, but if you click on this link to get the Blacksburg LiDAR tiles, you get a page that looks something like this. This is actually the Iowa State Mesonet page. So it's just a web page with a pile of files in it. And you could click on these all one at a time, and you could write something in Python to go get them. But this is a nice single one-line command. When you want to go get them, all of that stuff gets stored in this directory. So I ran this command to grab all of the LiDAR tiles. One thing to keep in mind is that everybody seems to, this is just one page, but everybody seems to strongly warn you against copying anything into the Linux subsystem, but it's okay to copy things out. What happens if you don't do that, I don't know, but it's an easy request to respect. To locate the stuff, you can type in this command. So user profile is a variable, and it brings you to this page. Just as an example of things to traverse, this is the whole path to my download of the Mesonet data. So once you get into this local packages, that brings you here, and then you jump into this canonical group limited Ubuntu on Windows. This is obviously something that gets created for you specifically, and then you have to kind of dive into this subpath until you get to the stuff. So it's a little bit funky to find them, but not too bad. And again, this is sort of like a one-line deal, and I expect we'll all be using the Linux subsystem for other things anyway. So not a lot of extra stuff. We used to have a special missions list on the whiteboard of kind of random tasks that need to get done. I'd like to get that back operational again, so that I can make lists of short things that need to get done. And this is going to be mostly for the people at Virginia Tech guys. Both of you have your own thesis stuff to worry about, and a lot of this gear is here anyway. But one of the things that we need to do is I've got a beta tiny little drone about the size of a mouse. We need to get that flying, so all that stuff is here. It just needs to be bound to the transmitter, and then it's ready to go. But that'd be a great thing to have. I don't know where all of our undergraduates are today, but great to have somebody take an hour on a Friday and just figure that out. I need to get Linux installed on the main lab machine here. I'd like somebody to research a little bit more about Vricon. So I did a brief presentation today, but diving into that into more detail would be great. Some of the stuff that we had dealt with over the summer, this is kind of the leftover thing. But when we're flying with the drones and we capture a little bit of the sky, there's a way. So over the summer, Earle, you had talked a little bit about how to remove items from the list using the retreival.
What was that, Dr.? Sorry, Dr. Earle, what was that last one?
You had talked about a way to eliminate images from the retreival when you're making things in Pix4D.
Yeah.
There are other things that you can do with that. So one is annotating images. So this is a way that you can just scope out part of that image rather than all of it. So if all of your frames had sky in it, you could just knock that out and still use everything that's not sky to do the reconstruction. So that would be something that I think somebody here could work on. And then we just got an Oculus Rift that got here faster than I thought. So based on your presentation, Earle, I went ahead and ordered one. It arrived in my office yesterday, and so getting that working with Cloud Compare to get immersed in a point cloud would be pretty sweet. So that would be, Hudson, that might be something you might be interested in if you're interested in augmented reality and virtual reality.
Yeah.
Be pretty fun.
Cool.
All right. So again, these are mostly probably things for Virginia Tech people to do. So you guys shouldn't need to worry about this stuff. But I'll probably be sort of leaving this list up and trying to allocate these out as much as I can, both to get people integrated into the lab and to get some of this random stuff done. No goals page for me this week. I was a little short on time, but we'll be back again with that next week. All right, that's it for me.
All right.
Actually, I've got a theory why this isn't working with the microphone. Go ahead and cue your stuff up, guys.
All right. Let's see.
Sourcing it from the.
I got that. Let's switch.
Yeah.
Yep. Sweet.
There it is.
There it is. All right, how's the microphone now?
Hey, we can hear you like wonderful now.
All right, sorry about that, guys. I had that set up yesterday, and it must have gotten deassociated. I don't know what happened. My bad.
Happens.
Sorry. I wonder if I should re-record that for the lab thing. Probably not. Okay. All right, we're ready for you guys.
All right. Let's. Let's try it again. All right, do you see our screen so far?
Yep.
All right. There we go. Okay. Oops, I forgot to change the date. Sorry.
That's
It's not 9/28. It's 10/5. The goals for the week were proposals and state printing. Well, I kept making edits throughout the week on my proposal, and I guess it's never synced to you because I'll talk about that later. So I found that making the edits might almost be harder than the original writing part, because I know you needed me to try and pare back words and clean it up. So what I did with it, I did try cutting back on the word count, but I actually seem to have increased it. I went through and shortened the intro. I shortened a bunch of the intro. But then I went through and I actually separated out my research question, and I made 3 objectives to achieve that research question. I sort of followed the Hannah example.
Okay.
So they're actually now prominent and well-defined, I believe.
Yeah, that's good. Some of that, and I'll just comment on this briefly, but, you and I work together. I understand exactly what your project is. We have no problem there. The problem is coming up with a document to communicate it to others. And so that's why I think, this model is probably going to work best. When Dave Shedd needs it, he's not going to be familiar with this. And so that's really going to help him key in on what's going on.
Yeah, I need to upload a new copy for you, but I think it actually helps it. It really identifies it, and it helped me target in on the question and then the 3 steps that I think were needed to achieve the goal.
Okay.
So I pretty much may have doubled the size of my background and lit review because I put a whole bunch more citations in there, and I tried to tweak it up a little bit. I cut down the section about the hypsometry and the manual methods. I think I doubled the size of the LiDAR, and I think I tripled the size of the the structure from motion section.
Okay. Did you cut down any of the other stuff?
What?
Did you cut down any of that other stuff?
Yeah. I tried cutting down a bunch of stuff, and I thought I was doing really well, and then it's like, wait, I'm back up to where I started from.
I mean, I don't mind. I think it's good that you've got more stuff on the LiDAR and the photogrammetry especially that needed to happen, but we'll have to go through it. I think a good rule of thumb for this is you shouldn't be citing the same source more than a couple of times. You know, if you find yourself circling back, that's a good sign that you're being inefficient in your lit review. You should be able to kind of click through these things and you know hit what you need to hit in a couple of sentences.
Okay.
So
I'll go back and check some of that because I think I may have. A lot of it was round and round citations because they're all citing the same people in the same ways, especially from the structure from motion section. Like going through the lit reviews in their section, it's a very close-knit community, it seems like.
Yeah, and that's normal. But then that's the thing is when you're assembling all of this stuff, you really have to summarize it. The concise part is something that I'm going to need you to really, really work on, and maybe it doesn't get there in time for the proposal that gets out because there's some slop in the system, and
Okay.
it doesn't need to be perfect, but the thesis kind of does, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if we want to publish it. So by the time it gets to publication, then a lot of that redundancy has to be eliminated and pared down. So this is going to be. I can look at this over the weekend.
Yeah. Actually, and I would like to try and get a time where I can meet up with you together so we can like maybe talk about some stuff. But all right. Then I also reformatted my tables and actually brought the tables in, not just imagery.
Okay.
Added more citation, and I cut back on my Dustin worship.
Good.
So yeah, I left them in where I thought it was appropriate, but I did cut back a bit of that.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm
You really should need to cite that more than, honestly, 5 times would be plenty. So.
Yeah, I'm probably around there now.
Okay. Yeah. Can we meet to talk about this stuff over the weekend? Are you busy?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let's as soon as the meeting's over, let's see if we can schedule a time because I definitely want to do that over the weekend.
Sounds good. Okay. Next, the state's topo map.
Oh, that's great.
I've crossed the Mississippi, so my westward expansion is underway.
That's fantastic.
The tiles are actually coming out smaller than I had originally hoped for, but owing to the fact that I wanted to keep everything in a single print size, it's working out. But the good thing about it being this small is it's probably going to be small enough that I can actually fit this on a large poster size printout.
Yeah.
So I thought about making just a standard topo map to underlay it so the kids could actually like, instead of trying to figure out where all the states go, they could actually like put them on the map.
Yeah.
So I think the scale is just perfect that I can actually do that. So
it's a great idea. Yeah.
So, we can actually show the topo map below it and they can try and like, well, where do you think the mountains are? Just working on that. So I think it might actually work out better for presentation size.
Cool.
I went with the Albers Ecoconic area for the North American one.
Are you saving these STL files?
Yes.
Okay. And are they in some directory that's accessible?
Yeah, I'll share it with you.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it on Dropbox. On the I'll set something.
Yeah, they're in my Dropbox folder. I just don't have this one shared with you yet.
Okay. Okay.
So speaking of STLs, I did do STLs for all of the watersheds for you. So,
yeah, I want one of those too.
Yeah, they're in the watershed file. There's actual in the puzzle directory. There's an STL file. So all the ones are in there.
Okay.
So yeah, Main Pass, Mississippi. some of the ones got to be very, very difficult to do, especially these smaller states, like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, Rhode Island. And that's a aspect of the buffer trick,
Yeah.
because some of those states, especially things like Rhode Island, the first time I printed didn't even have the Providence Plantation side of it.
Ah.
So I went through and redid that, and like Cape Cod on Massachusetts, those were just not even printing, or they were becoming separate islands because it was just so tiny.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I actually went through and had to print those ones individually. But it's coming out. I'm still considering what to do with things like Long Island, because they're not actually connected. They're out in the water, but it is a prominent feature of it.
Right.
So things I'm just thinking about working on.
Okay.
Did have the printer has stopped a couple times in the middle of prints. And it's lost base adhesion. Somehow the Z adjust on the printer head keeps trying to reset itself. So I've been having to go back in and manually change that every couple days, or every other time I restart it, basically.
I would check to make sure that those that the belts on the 3D printer are tight. So there's an adjustment that you can make that increases the tension on the belts.
Well, the belts aren't moving. It's like it's literally pausing in place. And the new Kira has the console tool where you can actually watch the data stream between the unit and the computer.
Oh.
And so it's reading, it's getting sensor data from the unit. It's actually getting the bed temp and the location, but for some reason it's not printing.
What are you using for the print computer now?
Pardon?
What are you using for the print computer now?
For the print what?
For the print computer? Did we lose the mic?
Oh, I'm still using the other one over there. Now that I got Neil 1 up, I'm going to get a cord and try and run Neil 1 over to there.
Yeah, I think there's something funky going on with the USB in that computer. So,
see, I thought that, but that's why I was watching the console code going through, and it's got connection, and the actual printer itself on the dial says printing. So I wonder if it's something to do with the newest update I put in there. I've been scavenging the forums, and I have seen a couple people say that their printer is just, it says it's printing and it's not going. But I have not seen much response on that yet. So.
Yeah. By the way, I had a horrible print failure 2 days ago. I was trying to print something in HIPS, kind of a large print. Lost bed adhesion, and the whole thing curled up like the Venom symbiote over the print head. So,
like this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's even worse than that. So the print head is like this glob of plastic. I'm not sure I'm going to get it off.
When I was searching the forums, I did see some people talk about that. Bob off the head, use a heat gun.
Yeah, okay. I was that was my first instinct, but I was afraid of melting the other plastic because the
person that I did see in one of the forums when I was looking for this, they said you may need to take off the cowling for your fans, but a heat gun should loosen it up enough that you can actually sort of wiggle it off.
Huh.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people post about that in the forums.
If you think of it, send me some links, or I can Google around for it too. But yeah,
it's actually, if you go to the Kira site itself, or I might have it up again. Hold on, might still have it up. Yeah, it's in the Luz. It's forum.luzbot, and
okay. I'll poke around a little bit.
Good forum on there, so it's forum.luzbot.
Yeah, the last time, what was I trying to heat gun? I was trying to heat gun some like PLA, and it melted like everything around it worked. I was like, oh yeah, this thing is really sensitive to heat. That's why. So yeah, that was a mistake. I'll give it a go.
All right. So that's been going. I've been still trying to get this high density full image running. The one I ran last week actually crashed on Sunday night.
Yeah, that was sad.
So that's why I came in here on Sunday night, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So after 4 days, 10 hours, and 8 minutes of processing, it crashed. I don't know what was going on. There might have been something in the room because that was the same time the printer froze up one of the times. So I don't know if we had a power spike or something that night, but I don't know. So my second attempt is still running. If you can't hear it in the background, you're lucky. So it's been running for 5 days and 12 hours, and it's just now starting the second great group. This time I actually tried the printing to process it in sub-projects. So
Oh, okay.
it seems to actually be running a little slower, but well, I don't know because the other one never finished.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure how it's going. But yeah, today, as of this morning before we started, we were just starting the last grade group, and they're taking about between 10 and 15 hours for each group to process.
Okay. Sammy, did you get a chance to see the I can't remember if this was at a lab meeting that you were at or not, but did you see the difference between the super high resolution stuff and the normal?
No, Earle's talked about it, but I haven't actually seen it in Cloud Compare or anything.
Yeah, take a look. It's pretty. I was impressed at how much better it is. So I think our new workflow is to use the rapid processing in step 1, but then use the more detailed processing on step 2. It was pretty awesome.
Do you think the accuracy improves as well? Because I was wondering if it would just be a lot more points, but it wouldn't be useful data.
I think it did improve the accuracy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
from my exploration in it really is improving.
Interesting.
You're able to see a lot more of the structure. You can almost see the leaves, individual leaves on trees.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was getting kind of wild.
Okay.
So your ground structures were going, your ground level is much more apparent.
Okay.
So I think from my aspect, it's going to be pretty good, which leads me into my next thing. So, I lost the page. Okay, so, yeah, I lost the page. So my next, once this finishes, I want to actually try and run the leaf off of the same sector.
Yeah.
And see just how, because I'm really thinking that this might be the key to seeing those tree trunks that I was having trouble seeing before.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really, really impressed with how it was coming. So, if I can actually get those tree trunks, then that the basal measurement might be possible.
Yep.
With this stuff.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah, that should be good. This is a good.
Let's see. Next. Oh yeah. So I maxed out my Dropbox a couple times this week. Apparently, whatever's printing or whatever's processing on the new high res is really, really, really big. As I've had to take things out of Dropbox 3 or 4 different times this week, and as soon as I do it, it fills back up. I was taking these smaller files out, so I finally moved the individual missions off the cloud now. It's all local on the server and on my backup copies.
Yeah, that's good.
That gave me another 189 gigabytes. Hopefully this one will not fill it up again.
Well, you may want to. You may want to run this stuff. Locally. Create the output on a local hard drive on the server, and then if you decide you want to keep it, then.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do from here, but it's already running, and I don't want to.
You can do now.
Try and change my file structure while it's running.
Yeah. I did notice that I've got access to, so I have access to OneDrive as well here. It might be worthwhile to see if we can link those up. In that case, we could use OneDrive again,
okay.
Which is essentially unlimited storage. So that might be a thing to try this week. Let's talk about it when we talk together on the weekend.
Okay, we'll do that. So yeah, that I have found that Dropbox has some really bad issues with what you can do with it when it's full, because I don't have all of my Dropboxes syncing to the computers. So you have to try and go online to manage the files. But if the files are very large, it will not let you delete them from the cloud base.
Oh.
I was trying to delete like I was trying to move off whole files, and it would not let me do it. It said you have to do it on your local system and let it propagate up. So I had to do some fancy maneuvering to get under the terabyte limit to actually go onto the website to delete the large file. So something to keep in mind if you run out of space.
Yeah.
And I did think about trying to switch over to the business one, but it is a minimum of 3 licenses you must purchase for the business Dropbox.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, I'll hold off on that. Maybe if we need to at some point, we can all get together and form our own little collective of business, because that is unlimited, and you get 120 days of backup with the business section.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll look into that and see what we might be able to do there. I think I'll look into it over the weekend.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna do it because it's the business Dropbox is only $15 a person, which is only $5 more than I'm paying now.
Right.
But it makes you purchase at least three licenses, and that 15 is on month to month. If you pay for a whole year, it's $12.
Oh, that's not bad. So you just need to get three of us that are willing to form a collective.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, that's Dropbox. So that's pretty much all I really had time to do this week. I had 2 projects going that I had to have for class, so that ate up a lot of my time this week. So proposal, I'm liking where it's at. The state printing is going very, very well, better than I had hoped. And this week, maybe some more rewrites if necessary on the proposal. Finish the states and finish the high density with leaf on and leaf off version.
Okay.
And that'll be it for me today.
All right. Sounds great.
Let's see. Okay.
And Sammy, you're just a spectator today?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a problem. Okay. Well, that I guess wraps things up for the meeting. Earle, I'll stop the recording here, but let's work out a time to do our meeting.
All right.
All right. So stand.
Sounds good. All right.